Hey, it is Colin, and in this video, I'm going to explain to you when you should use manual CPC or manual cost per click and smart bidding. So this will work for any local service business, things like plumbing, roofing, pressure cleaning, or anything with a similar business model. Now, just a little bit about me. I run a local growth group and we set up and manage Google Ads funnels, and we've successfully added 10 to 50K plus in consistent monthly revenue for our service business clients. Now, in this video, we will cover the difference between manual cost per click and maximize conversions, which is an example of smart bidding, when and how to use them, and a strategy I like to use using both of them. So the bidding types, just to explain the difference, manual CPC is when you manually set a value for how much you want to pay per click. Maximize conversions, or smart bidding, allows Google to automatically decide how much to bid per click in order to maximize performance, in this case, maximizing conversions. Now, manual CPC, you will only pay up to the set CPC value, generally speaking. Sometimes it does go over, but generally, if you set the CPC to $5, you will never pay more than $5 per click. So when do you use manual CPC? When you're starting a new campaign is a pretty good time to use it. At the beginning of a campaign, you should focus on collecting data. So adjusting your CPC to generate an optimal number of conversions and a healthy CPA, or cost per acquisition, is a pretty good way to use max CPC. Now, this is especially useful in competitive niches and if you have a small budget where you don't want to overspend. So, in competitive niches, you may see that the cost per click bid range is pretty high, and you don't want to be paying that much per click. You can manually choose to pay less per click, and that way, if you have a small budget, you don't have to spend heaps, and that way you can collect data as well before you decide to go to automated bidding, right? Now, when you're running manual CPC, you want to try and collect enough data first. So this depends on your budget, and it could take 1 week or 4. It really depends on how many conversions you're getting. But as a rule of thumb, try and get 20 or 30 conversions before you decide to change anything. Get enough data and adjust the cost per click value if you aren't happy with the cost per acquisition, or check other factors in your campaign before switching to smart bidding. So if your cost per acquisition is too high, you may consider lowering the CPC. If just other parts of your campaign aren't performing, you may want to, look at improving, the click-through rate or the conversion rate on your landing page before you want to update your campaign and switching the type of bidding you're using. Now, let's compare it to maximize conversions. So this is obviously a smart bidding method, and you'll pay what Google determines is most likely to convert. So let's say the top of bid range is $5 to $10 for a set keyword, meaning your competitors are paying on the low end $5, on the high end they're spending $10. If you set it to maximize conversions, Google could spend $4, $8, even $12, which is higher than the range. Generally, it looks to pay more when it thinks a conversion is likely. How exactly it determines that, I'm not sure, but generally it will see factors, different metrics on the user, and determine which one are more likely to convert. And it's willing to spend those $12 on those clicks when it thinks it's like 3 times more likely to convert than someone that's worth $4, right? If that kind of makes sense. But that's generally how it works. It's a little bit more complex than that, and I'm probably not the best to explain it, but you get the idea. So when should you use maximize conversions? When you have a large enough amount of data, or you have a large expendable budget. So once you've run manual CPC for long enough and you're happy with the cost per acquisition and other metrics, you can start to switch to smart bidding, right? This should make managing your campaign easier, and with the historic data you've accumulated, it should improve performance over time. So, once you've got a set, performance that you're happy with the manual CPC, Google can use that data and continue that performance with automated bidding, and hopefully even improve that over time, because Google should do a better job than your manual bidding, right? And you can also start out with maximize conversions. And I have done this before with some of my client campaigns, and it can definitely work. It's hard to say if you could be spending less money early on, though. So that's why it's good to have manual CPC, because you could probably spend less than Google would right off the bat. But either way, if you start off with maximize conversions, you can let it run for a while. And if you want to lower that CPA, you can always add a target CPA and slightly lower that value over time, and as well as checking other campaign factors. So it's important that you let changes run long enough every time you implement one. So whether you make a change, let it collect data first. So if you change your daily spend, your bidding type, your target CPA, your CPC values, etc., you want to let it run long enough to confirm the changes. So sometimes performance can drop for a week before it recalibrates. Like if you add a target CPA or you lower it by $10 or something like that, you can see a big drop in performance. Um, and that's often temporary. So you don't want to be quick to judge, and you don't want to be tweaking this and that within 1 week. You want to let it at least run for a week. I generally say if you're making a significant change like that, run it for 2 to 4 weeks and don't do multiple changes simultaneously. Because you want to know for sure which change made which effect, and making multiple changes can screw with the algorithm and it can mess up Google's performance basically. So so some of that may have not made sense. So it'll be easier to understand when I tell you my general strategy that I like to use for my clients. So first off, we run with manual CPC first. So we do our keyword research, look for the services, what people are searching for that aligns with the services our client offers. Then we like to see the top of page bid range, right? And then we want to bid accordingly to our budget. So if we have a smaller budget, we'll bid closer to the middle of that range. If we have a larger budget, we'll bid towards the higher end of that range. We generally don't want to bid at the very top unless you have like stupid amounts of money and you don't care. I would just bid close to the higher end because the goal is to, get conversions as cheap as possible. Generally speaking, cheap isn't always better. You also want to consider quality, but generally at the start, we want to get conversions at a healthy price, right? Now, what you want to do is collect data for 1 to 4 weeks. Like I said, depending on your budget. If you're just pumping out cash and you can get a lot of conversions in the first week, by all means, be my guest. But even if you have a large budget, it's generally safer and smarter to only spend a little bit of your budget at the beginning just to test things out, right? So before I go into the two scenarios, we'll look at the bad scenario first. So basically, if your performance is bad after that time period, you may want to adjust the CPC for a better CPA. So uh, if your CPC is too low, you might not be getting enough clicks, so you want to increase it. If you're getting enough clicks, but your cost per acquisition is too high, you might want to lower the CPC. So you want to consider those kind of things. And it's not just about the CPC, like the cost per click. You want to focus on all of the other parts of your campaign as well. So check the keyword intent and the conversion rate of keywords. So some of the keywords might not be as correct as you thought they were, and they might not be the right intent. So you might want to get rid of them or add some other keywords. You want to ensure that there's enough search volume. So that might be a reason why you're not getting enough clicks. You want to improve the click-through rate on those keywords. So improve your ad copy, right? Apply negative keywords, things like that. Or even, I should have mentioned, improve landing page conversions. You improve the design of your landing page. There's many other things that can affect performance. So you want to consider those things, not just the bidding, right? Now, assuming you run the ads for 1 to 4 weeks, everything's good, you're happy with the cost per acquisition, that kind of stuff, then you can probably switch to smart bidding or maximize conversions in this case. And once again, let it run for 1 to 4 weeks. After a while, if you're getting conversions profitably for weeks, that's when I would probably set a target CPA at or slightly below your current CPA level. So say you're spending $1,000 a week and you're getting 10 conversions at $100 conversion each. It's not bad, but you want to lower that level. So you set a target CPA for $90 or $95. See how that goes. This should slowly decrease your cost per acquisition, but you got to consider that you don't want to lower this quickly. You don't want to go from like $100 to $50, right? Because this will drastically change things, and you need to be realistic. So you can't just click a button and then magically halve the cost of getting your leads. Like you're just in fairyland if you think you can do that, right? So by lowering your CPA, sure, your ads might be more profitable, but you may see a drop off in volume, right? Because the cost per clicks, you're not paying enough, you're not bidding enough for the clicks, right? So you may start to see a drop off in volume, and it's just a game of back and forth to try and find the sweet spot you're happy with over time. So this may take weeks or months of testing, but you'll slowly be able to find that level that makes the most profit, but also has enough volume for you to be happy with the amount of revenue you're generating for your business, right? Now, some other parts of the campaign, I just want to note that bidding is one part of the equation. So consider, like I said before, You want to check the keywords, performance and intent, structure of your account, search volume of keywords, try A/B testing ads, make sure your negative keywords are extensive, improving the quality score of your ads. There's a bunch of different factors that you should improve in the campaign. Bidding is only going to do so much of the work. Chances are, oh yeah, another good one is like your offer is your service or product actually what the market wants, or how can you change it, that kind of stuff. So there's many other things you can consider, and don't solely focus on the bidding or the budget, that kind of stuff. Make sure everything else is working before you perhaps lower the CPA. You know, something you need to understand with scaling. As you scale your budget, you need to understand that you'll forfeit profitability. So as you widen your targeting to get more views and more clicks and more conversions, the colder your audience becomes, lowering conversion rates. There's only a set percentage, like a small percentage of the market at any given time that is uh, going to convert at a very high rate. As you get wider, they're going to convert at a lower rate. That's just reality, and it makes sense. So just consider this as an example. Like, let's say you spend 10K in a month in ad spend and you generate 100K in revenue. That's a 10x ROAS, which is, in some industries, that might be really good, right? But then you spend 100K in a month and now you're only getting 500K in revenue, which is a 5x ROAS. But I just said it's only 500K, but it's not only 500K. You're now making 5 times the amount you were before. So whilst it's not nearly as profitable, you've 5x your budget. So would you rather be making this volume for your business or this volume for your business, right? So that's up to you. Find a sweet spot that works for you. But generally, you're going to make more money if there's more revenue, right? That's just generally how it works. But obviously, it has to be profitable. So if this 5x ROAS is not worth your time, you got to dial it back and figure out a sweet spot, right? Now, final takeaways of this video. So use manual CPC when you want to have more control. It's good for smaller budgets or competitive niches, just when you're starting out your campaign. Smart bidding, especially max conversions, it gives Google control. It can improve performance and it makes management easier. General guide that I like to do: use manual CPC first to collect data and get a desired return on ad spend or a target CPA, and then switch to smart bidding when you're happy with the performance. And ensure you optimize your campaign in all the other metrics that I mentioned. Don't just focus on the bidding to improve your campaign performance and to scale, right? So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Make sure you book a call below if you are interested in having a Google Ads funnel set up for you and your service business. Secondly, subscribe and like the video, because I'll be breaking down lead gen with Google Ads in great detail on this channel. So as you watch my content, you should be able to build and implement a lot of this stuff for yourself. Number 3, and finally, download my free guide. So if you want to learn how to set up a Google Ads funnel for free and any other stuff that I update the guides with, be sure to check that out and get that content for free. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.